Welcome to SDET Adda. I am Raghvin Mishra, and in today's video we are going to learn how to send post request using Karate framework. And as we know, post requests are used to carry data payload, request payload, and it will send to API server and it will create the resource in API server. So we will execute a simple post request. We will execute post with background. We will use post with assertion. We will be executing post with matching response from JSON file, and we will make a post request with get request body from JSON file and post with updating request body which we have read from a JSON file. Alright, so let's begin with this. So here I have created a Maven project called Karate in my Eclipse IDE. So you can do that, and one more thing which you can do, you can install Cucumber plugin from marketplace. So if it is not installed in your Eclipse IDE, then you have to install so that the feature file can be read by Cucumber plugin. So it is most of like BDD kind of framework and extension of Cucumber. All right. So here we are going to write. So you'll get once your project is created in Maven project is created in Eclipse, you will get folder structure like this. So inside src test java, I'm going to create a feature file inside test. So let me create a feature file. So I'll just type file and click on file and click on next. So I'm inside test, and here I'm going to create a feature file called post, and I'll click on finish. So you see it gets some default content. I'm going to delete those default contents since I'm going to write a fresh feature file, okay, for my post request, which will capture all my post request. All right, so this is test or testing of post request, okay, using Karate framework. All right, so let me have background. So background is nothing but whatever syntax or command you want to execute before scenarios, you can have them in the background. So let me just keep it empty for now, and I'll begin with the scenario. Simple scenario for API post request API. So scenario. So you can write this is simple API post request, okay, and given now you need URL, right, wherein you can get some test API, right? You can get some API to test. So either you can use your own API, post API, or you can open recresponse.in site and you get some dummy APIs. So like the one I'm going to use. So this is going to be a very simple and interesting. So I'm gonna go and use this payload, this request data, request body. Okay. So let me use this URL for now, and request would be nothing but whatever you are getting here inside this. All right. So let me do pretty format, and you can see some lexing errors, right? So you have to fix those lex errors. So you have to be very sure about indentation and syntax. So I'm just putting everything in one line for now, and yeah, so this is going to be your request. So let me just remove this from here, and yeah, so this is nothing but the Gherkin syntax. Okay. All right, so here when the method is post, I'm going to write, because this is going to be a post method, and post method will have this request body, and status is 201, and you can print the response. Okay, with this, let me just do pretty format, and here we go, and let me just run this Cucumber feature file. You can keep eye on this console log if something is wrong, and if it is successfully run, you can go and come to this. You can go to the target and Karate report, and you can open the HTML file in the system editor or your default browser, whatever you want. So let me open this, and you can see this is all fine. Everything is proper, looks proper. And let me see the response. So it is creating the data at this time. So it has captured the timestamp. It has created the ID and job and name, whatever we have given right in the request body. So you can see that. So I've given a Morpheus. You can change it to your. Let me just write Raghavendra, and my job is programmer. Okay. Let me save it and let me run it again, and we'll see the response. Let me refresh this, and we'll see the response. Yeah, so you can say you can see uh, the Raghavendra and programmer. So it has been created, right? The resource has been created in the API server. So let me just add one. So and the next we are going to use post with a background, right? So let me write one more scenario. I'll copy paste the same things to avoid any kind of typo. So this is API request with background, I would say. API request with background. So now when we are using this, okay, so we have to specify something in the background, right? So this, as of now, this background is blank, empty. So as I have to include this URL in the background. All right. So let me write this URL in the background. Okay. So I'll remove this URL from here, and instead I will go and use the path. Okay. So since I have given till here, so it is going to go and append this path to the existing background. Okay, let me put it in the quote, and rest everything is okay. So I'm gonna go and do the pretty format and run it. Let me save it also and run this feature file, Cucumber feature file, and I will refresh the result or output. So you can see there are two successful run. Okay, so API, this is a simple API post request, with background. So those are successful. So next we are going to write post request with the assertion. Okay, so let me copy the whole thing again to avoid any kind of typo, or you can write if you are good at typing. So post request with assertion, I'm gonna go and write this scenario, and let everything be same. And here, so just before that, let me see what is the response. Okay, so I'll copy the response from here, since I'm going to write assertion, right? So I'm expecting this output. So I'm going to go and match this response, right? So match response, and what is that response? That response is nothing but this. So I'm gonna go and add this in the single line, arrange the response in the single line. Otherwise you may get some lexing errors, so which you have to sort it out. And I'm gonna go and put this in the curly brace at the end. Okay, let me run but I believe, I mean, this will be assertion will not be matching because it is creating a new ID. But let's see, I'm not editing anything in this video, so rather you can see the error on your own. And here see, match found for match response, the response itself is not proper. So let me just correct the spelling and run it again. Go and refresh the output. Here everything is proper, neat and clean, but match response is failing. And let's see what is the error. No step definition method match found. So match response is name job programmer and created at 301, and this is the timestamp. Okay, so it is telling no match found, no step definition match found. Okay, so let me do one thing. Till here everything is fine. ID I'm not sure because it will be creating a new one. So let me see that in the response. So see, ID is changed, right? Because it is creating on its own, and the created timestamp is also different. You see, so we can ignore these two fields, or maybe we can, if we are certain that it is going to take the string value for the ID, then we can add has string, and here has ignore can be added. Ignore, because whatever is the output, we are least bothered about that. Let me save and run it again. So I know for sure that ID will get generated and it will be of a string type. So I am adding a string for ID as assertion point, and I'm least bothered about this field created at, so I will just ignore it. So let me refresh. It is again failed. So let me see why it is getting failed. Okay, let me run it again. Looks like there was some syntax mistake. If that is the case, we are just saving it and run it again. Looks like it is failed again. So let me see what is the output, what is the reason for failure. Programmer and match response, something is missing here. The match response name Raghavendra, the line number is 26, ID string created at ignore, I'm ignoring this. No step definition match found for match response name Raghavendra, job programmer. Looks good to me, but anyways, since it is failing, okay, so response equal to this. All right, so I think this double quote, we are validating against response, right? What we are getting. So it should be, I mean, there should be equal sign for that, right? So let me try. I have not put the space. Yeah, you can put the space also, but it looks fine. I think it is fine. Let me see. Let me add one space here and name Raghavin job programmer. Okay, let's retry. So I'm not editing this video because I want you to see all kind of errors you may get when you are executing your test post request using Karate framework. So you can find out the proper error and you can rectify those errors. So you see all three test cases are neat and clean and passed. Okay, so next scenario is post with matching response from JSON file. Okay, so we have our response stored in some file, and we will use that file and we will match the assertion, we will match the response. So let me write one and I'll copy this from here, post with API post with matching response from JSON file. Okay, what you would do here is, so you are going to write, you are going to read one excuse me, header, okay, and accept. So this is going to be application and JSON kind of thing. So let me add one space between this, and I'm going to read one JSON file, which I will just, so as per the scenario, what we are going to do is, like, we are going to read this response from some file. So that is, let's see, expected output. Okay, so this is going to be my variable, so I'm going to match against this. So I'm going to define this variable somewhere in the background, and I will read some file, okay, which will have the response. Read, say, response dot JSON. Okay, clear, right? Okay, so let me save it, and we have not created this response file yet. So I'm going to go and create this response file, response.json file, inside test only. And inside this, I'm going to put this response, whatever I have verified in the the previous scenario. So let me just add this to the response file. Okay, so we are going to ignore the created at, because the timestamp may vary, and ID we are now for sure that it is going to be a string kind of uh, uh, field. Okay, so I have saved it, and I am just validating, matching the response from JSON file. Okay, so I have given that expected output, which I have defined here in the background, and in this variable we are reading this JSON file, response.json, wherein we have kept the response. So let me run it. Let me do pretty format for you in order to get any kind of compilation error with the indentation and everything. So looks everything is fine. So let me run it again. Okay, so we'll go and check here. So looks like this is reading the response from this file, and since it has read and it has validated it, so it is passing the test case. Okay, we can have a dollar instead of response. So okay, so that is also fine. We can have dollar. Okay, you can, so that can be the alternative of your response. So instead of response, you can add dollar. And let's run that test case again. So I'll go and just refresh the output, this file, and you can see it is matching perfectly fine. Okay, so let me add one more scenario wherein I'm just reading the request body from JSON file. Okay, so I'll just add this line in the scenario. So what we have to do here is, we have to go and change the request. Maybe this is my request body. Okay, and I'm going to just define the request body. Let me define it. Okay, this will be here, and what I'm going to do is, I'm going to read the request body from JSON, some test.json, or a request, I would say request JSON, request.json, and and request would be request body. Right? Okay, so here we go. So let me save this and run this. Oh, just before that, you have to make sure the request data is there and this file it's created in your present working directory, right? So I'm gonna go and create a request.json, and I'm going to add that request. Okay, here. So you see, I have created a JSON file, and you can go and open this JSON Pathfinder, and you can get to know like what is the node and how it is formatted, right? So you can open that site, and let me open it for you. JSON Pathfinder, and if I add that syntax here, so I'll get a node. You see the name, and so it is in the readable format, right? So that is how you can use that, but it's okay for JSON file. So I'm going to read this JSON file for my next post request in the next scenario. Okay, so that's fine. Request.json is ready. So now we'll see the expected. Okay, so let me run it, and we will just refresh this, and you see there is one failure here. So it is getting failed, and it is getting failed in the assertion. The reason is like, okay, not equal to the string Morpheus and Raghavan. It is not matching because we have given a different, we are reading a different thing and we are matching with this. So for this I will just go and uh, use this kind of syntax, so that I can, whatever I have given here, right, in the request.json, I can add this Morpheus because it is failing to match. So let me just add this. Okay, and he is leader, right? Job is leader. So I'll just mention job is leader. I'll save it and I will run it again. We'll see if it is matching the assertion or not. So the assertion is fine. There is no error with that. So now we can see, and we'll see the response, right? Morpheus and leaders. So here we are going to match. We have put the assertion and which is matching perfectly fine. And let me go to the next request which we have is post with updating request. So since we know many programmer tester uses the same test JSON file, and there might be some requirement wherein you have to change the data on fly. So during uh, you know your feature creation, or when you are writing the scenario, so you can update the field then and there, right? So instead of going and to the JSON file test data, so if you want to update any field, you can do that in the scenario also. So I'm just going to write the scenario for that, and we'll do the post request. Okay, here, so this is let me update this. So we are going to use the post request with updating request body, which we have read from the JSON file. We have read the request body from this, and let me just add this. Okay, so what we are going to do here is like we will be setting a different thing, right? Before sending a request to the API server, we are going to update the field. Okay, so we'll write one more and what would be the change? Let's change the job, or let me change job to say tester. Okay, from leader to tester it will be changing. From It will change the job from leader to tester. Okay, so I'm updating that. Let me save this and let me do pretty format. For this, I'll just run the test feature file, and I can refresh this file to see if everything is proper. All the tests are oh, this is failed, so let us see where it is failing. Oh wait, yeah, so it will fail because we have changed the job to tester, so it will fail the assertion. So let me change the assertion match from leader to tester here, and let me run it again. Right, so let's see the output file, if all the tests are getting passed or not. Yeah, so you can see all the tests are getting passed. All right, so that's it guys. That's it on this uh, tutorial, on this video on how to send post request using karate framework. So I'll see you in next video, and I have created a video using which following which you can create your API, or you can test your API using karate in just 10 minutes. So you can watch that video as well. So I'll see you in next video. Thanks for watching and keep learning.